Good evening, Rink Rats. How are you all this evening? Andy Campbell here with the Chicago Rinkcast on the eve of the Chicago Blackhawks 2023-24 season. We are as excited as you are. It's going to be an epic season, kind of, not really, but it'll be much more entertaining to watch than in seasons past. And boy, they have a tall task coming up with the starting off opening night in Pittsburgh and then opening night in Boston. But regardless, we're here to talk about the Hawks, talk about the selections. We've got the Bardo, Sean Fitzgerald, Brent Meske, and the birthday boy, Eric Andrews. And we're going to start there. Happy birthday, Eric. How are you?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Doing well.
Awesome. And we will say hello to Brent Meske, otherwise known as Meske to me. One of the best guys, one of our new acquisition, our key free agent acquisition on his second podcast. How are we doing tonight, Brent?
I've got a cat screaming at me behind me, so that's a good start.
Neat. Excellent. We'll bring that cat on board. We want to see that animal, and if it's got a lot of screams when we start talking about Wyatt Kaiser, we want to hear them. Sean, how the hell are you, my friend? What hat are you wearing? What sweatshirt are you wearing? Your face off your head.
I got a Cubs throwback sweatshirt here, a little lighter. And I'm going with the 2015 Conference Championship Blackhawks hat tonight. I figured I'd go a little Hawks action here because, I took off all the hair. So
what happened?
I got a haircut.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm getting ready for the season. I shaved my beard, got a haircut. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. So
I like it. Bardo, how do you feel about Sean Fitzgerald's physical appearance, and how are you this evening?
That's a very creepy ass question. I can't answer that one.
Just swear a little bit. Come on.
I love Shawnee's appearance all the time. He's always rocking it. I'm waiting for him to say, when you're asking him who is he wearing, I'm waiting for him to say, I'm wearing my Louis Vuitton Blackhawks sweatshirt or something like that.
Yes, and I would venture, the diehard Chiefs fan, Mr. Bard here, I'd venture to say he might be a little irritated about all the Taylor Swift talk taken away from his team.
So annoying.
But who knows?
I'm done with it. I never even started with it. It was done. I'm done with it. So.
Well, fellas, alas, we are here. Tomorrow night, the Blackhawks kick off their season in Pittsburgh against a few legendary talents and a pretty good Pittsburgh Penguins team. But let's talk about the team, all right? The roster has been made. It's finalized. Some line combos here. We can roll through the line combos or whatever we got, but some interesting takes, some, I guess, surprises, maybe not. You can say Mackenzie Entwistle has made the team. Good for him. That kid worked awfully hard, but the team is solid. And Eric, or the roster's solid. It makes a lot of sense. Eric, are you surprised by any of the roster moves or what we're looking at going into the season?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think some of those kind of depth forwards, 13th, 14th kind of guys, I think it could have been any number of guys that got those spots. So it's not necessarily overly surprising to see guys like Entwistle and Reese Johnson get those spots since they do kind of have that, rapport already built up with the organization over the last couple of years. So that wasn't overly surprising to me. I guess really going up and down the opening night roster, there really weren't any surprises to me.
Yeah. Sean, are you feeling that same vibe? Were you shocked at all?
Yeah, I mean, the one surprise to me was Isaac Phillips getting sent down, but I think
it's too bad.
I think that's just because they need to keep Zaitsev on the roster currently.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he could be recalled. We'll probably get into this later, but he could be recalled because currently Korchinski's on his 9-game audition. So I think because me personally, and I know others at the rink here share this, that we don't think Korchinski's ready to be an NHL player. It's just he's not good in his own zone, so I think he's got to go down back to the WHL and do some bum slaying, and then maybe spend some time in the A next year. But I think Isaac Phillips is bum slaying. It's what I believe Gate said last week. So I'm just quoting Gate.
Got it. No, and I think I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody that he's with the club as of today. We talked about the 9-game burnage and all that fun stuff, and that lousy CHL rule that you can play 9 games, then you can't go to the AHL. You got to go back to your junior team. And
well, it's also based on your age too. You have to be 20 years old. Yes. You have to be 20 years old to play in the AHL.
Hence
Unless-
the potential for bum slaying that is right around the corner for him.
Mhm.
So so let's roll through. Let's look at what some of the Cole Gutman is penciled in. It seems like to be the third line center. Philip Kurashev out of the lineup. Brent, any thoughts on Cole Gutman or any of the third or the fourth line? It looks pretty identical. It just kind of looks like a bag of who's who of don't really know you, except for Perry and Foligno. But
Gotta say, I'm really happy for that Bedard kid that he actually made the team. I know he was worried about that there, so I think we should give him a little kudos there. But yeah, I mean, that fourth line should be interesting. You have your two A's on the wing. I don't know. It could be interesting to see how they do. If they're looking at this as get flipped at the deadline, then they're obviously going to want to start out well and stay healthy. So I don't know.
So,
I feel like looking at the lines at this point is like, I feel like they're just going to be in the blender because I don't think anybody is sticking anywhere.
No, nothing. I don't really see much sticking. I mean, maybe the Bernard and Hall and Donato might play together. So for a little while, we'll see. So the line combos as is, folks, right now projected for tomorrow night are Connor Bedard in the middle, centering Taylor Hall and Ryan Donato. Lucas Reichel playing center. He had a pretty good preseason with Tyler Johnson on his flank as well as Taylor Radish. I kind of like that line, actually. That's a good mix. I like Radish in there winning pucks. Cole Gutman in the lineup at center with Kurashev out, with Kachuk on one flank and Anastasiou on the other. And then Dickinson in the middle with Corey Perry and Mr. Foligno, which should be a pretty solid line. Now, the defensive units or the pairings as is, Vlasic and Jones, which is interesting. Looks like that will be the top pairing for tomorrow night. Hey, Mr. Vlasic, good luck to you. Top pairing right away with Mr. Jones. Kevin Korchinski, who may be here for the long haul or maybe here for 9 games, is going to be into Connor Murphy. And then Jared Tenorti is going to be with Chicago media darling Wyatt Kaiser. And on that subject, Peter Mrazek is expected to play in the pipes tomorrow night. And then Arvid Soderblom.
Pending an injury.
And an injury. And then Arvid
I'm just saying he might get hurt before the game.
Arvid Soderblom is expected to get the cage in Boston the following night. But Bardo, a lot of talk lately about Wyatt Kaiser, and it's time to dissect this a little further. Wyatt Kaiser, if you read any of Ben Pope's stuff for the Chicago Sun-Times, first of all, Ben Pope writes a lot of good material. He's an avid follower of the Blackhawks. He's pretty locked in. Very good columnist, and he
did like Dylan Strome, though. You got to hold that against him.
He did, and I think he's in the right job. But if you read his stuff, and then if you listen to Voster's and you listen to Darren Pang, Wyatt Kaiser, wow! I mean, he seems like he's the second coming of
Duncan Keith.
Now, what are we making of this, guys? I think this is I'm nervous about this.
I mean, look, I've watched him a lot over the last year between what he's done, in his cup of coffee he had last year, as well as in the preseason. He's a nice player. I mean, he might be a 4-5 guy, because he can skate very well. I mean, he seems to be able to use that to his advantage in game positioning. But apart from that, I'm not seeing like any sort of elite skill out of him that makes him look like a Duncan Keith or even a Jarmelson or something like that. I mean, I think, again, 4-5 guy, maybe. Look, I think maybe best case scenario, if he's Johnny Oduya, I think we'd all be happy. And I don't think that's a knock on him, knock on Oduya. I think that's actually a compliment, which to me, Oduya is like a 4-5 guy. And maybe he's not.
Oduya was a 4 on 2 cups.
He was a 4, yeah.
So if he's anything like that, thank you. That's great.
Yes, I would take that, but let's not call him a top pairing guy. Going back to what you were saying about Korchinski, because I am curious, assuming he gets sent back to the WHL, does this mean Kaiser gets moved up into that spot? That's going to be an interesting thing to see who moves next to Murphy. That'll be a really interesting thing.
Definitely could be. So let's clarify this for a minute, folks. So the Rink came out with an article yesterday. Yes, I penned it, but the thoughts are universal when we write an article from the Rink. It's how we all feel about things. So we use we language, like a lot of hockey players do. So we release an article just about the expectations of Wyatt Kaiser and the local Chicago media just pumping his tires and suggesting that, wow, this kid is so good. But we want to clarify this real quick. Wyatt Kaiser is a good prospect. He is. He's a good player, like a third-round pick, 2020. Had a decent career at Minnesota Duluth. Not an outstanding career. I mean, he was a very good college defenseman. And now he played 9 games last year, and now he's coming in, and all of a sudden everyone's saying, oh my gosh, this guy is so bloody good, but there's going to be a serious learning curve for him. And there are going to be challenges and struggles ahead for him. And the reason I got all over Ben Pope about this is these were the kinds of things Ben Pope was saying about Ian Mitchell about 3 or 4 years ago. And Ian Mitchell is fighting for his life right now in the NHL. But Eric, I want to go to you real quick on the Kaiser stuff. I mean, I like Wyatt Kaiser. We're certainly rooting for Wyatt Kaiser, but we're just saying, fans, like, don't get so invested in this guy based off what the media is saying that all of a sudden you're going to turn on him if he struggles. Is he going to struggle, Eric? I mean, I think he might.
I mean, I don't see how he wouldn't. I mean, he is still a young player that, like we just said, only has 9 games under his belt. And, another thing too, like, it's one thing if you're pumping tires of a guy like Korchinski that was a high pick. Wyatt Kaiser was a 3rd-round pick. Like, he's never had that high-end pedigree. And like you guys were saying, I mean, he probably caps out as like a number 4 type of defenseman, which, again, that's great. Everybody needs those. You need guys like that are solid in their own end, can move the puck and everything. That's great. You need that to win. But it's just not something to get overly excited about. Right. I really like that comparison to Oduya as far as, kind of the role that he could fill in the future. And again, Oduya was a very important piece to those teams. But, when you acquire Johnny Oduya, are you jumping up and down? No. Is Kaiser a fine prospect? Yep. Is he going to have a serviceable career? Probably. Yeah. That's great. Worth getting overly excited about? Nope.
No, I mean, if you think about those championship teams, I mean, he might be the Brent Sopel or the young Nick Leddy or the Van Riemsdyk. I mean,
Jordan Henry.
Right. I mean, he might just be that guy. But I mean, Brent, what are your thoughts? I mean, I don't want to be too down on this kid. In his own zone, though, he did struggle in the preseason. I mean, that was clear, and he had boatloads of ice time. He's good at moving the puck when he's not pressured. He's great in the offensive zone. His gap control is pretty good. But I mean, like, the 2 games that they have coming up on the road at Pittsburgh and in Boston, he might be on the ice for 5 goals against. I mean, what do you think, Brent?
I think it's just crazy that, like we've said, 9 games and we're throwing all of this on him.
Yeah.
It can only end poorly for him. Like, there's no possible way. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. There's no possible way he lives up to the hype that's being thrown at him.
No.
Like, you're getting thrown out there. It's not like he's getting thrown out there in so many of those guys you just listed. He got thrown out there to learn with a guy like Duncan Keith. He doesn't have that.
No.
Like, Jared Tenorti is not Duncan Keith. Like, that's not who you're paired with and learning. Right. Like, I don't know. It's unfair to him that you're throwing all of this on him out of nowhere, too. It's not like this has been ramping up and it's been playing better and better, and now people are getting really excited. It's like one day everybody but us decided to wake up and go, hey, don't tell those guys, but Wyatt Kaiser. Like, that's the hype train now. Everybody get out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. No. I was excited about him when he was drafted, but I mean, my expectations were I don't know. I mean, Mr. Minnesota Hockey, I think he was, and then, went to UMD Bulldogs and had a pretty decent career. But Sean, you were mentioning earlier, like, is it just because after Bedard, the idea that Korchinski might be gone after 9 games back to juniors, there's just nothing else to talk about right now?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Because think about it. Like, Lucas Reichel was here last year. We've kind of done that story. It's the preseason. Also, you don't want to hype so much. Like, Kaiser's at least played 3 years in college. So he's an older guy. He's in his 20s. Korchinski's 19, never played above juniors, so there's that. Also, like, aside from Korchinski, who else do you have? You're not going to hype Cole Gutman because nobody knows him, nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
So Soderblom is a nice story, but he's a goalie and he's older, and we've already had him. So who else are you going to talk about? Like, it's literally because you can't talk about Bedard every second of every play. You just can't do it because you've got to give the fan base something else to be excited about. That's why Panger and Vosters and all those guys are talking about him. That's my thought process, and I think we have a little bit of a prospect shock because remember, like we've been fed that Ian Mitchell was ready to play right away.
Yeah.
Dylan Sakura was a top 6 forward.
Yeah, you're right.
Anthony Lewis was an NHL player. Vinny Hinostroza. The list goes on and on.
Who's Anthony Lewis?
Right.
I don't know who that is.
He's the smallest forward out of University of Miami of Ohio.
All right,
He's a local kid.
I'm going to look that up at some point.
I wrote an article several years ago about how he was a top prospect. I hyped him up. But in any event, like that's what we've been fed all this garbage for a long time. We finally get like a decent NHL prospect, and now that they're pumping him up, we're very skeptical of it. So
here's the one thing I'll say about that, though. The one advantage that Kaiser probably has over Mitchell and others is: do you have more confidence in his talent being developed with this regime versus the previous regime?
100%.
Yeah,
that to me is a huge difference. So to me, I give him a better chance of developing more than Mitchell.
Yeah. I mean, are we too skeptical? I mean, Shawnee,
we might be.
That prospect shock thing is very real. I mean, we're still licking our wounds from Ian Mitchell and all those other guys that you mentioned. And so, maybe that's why we're so cautious. I mean, again, folks, we're rooting for this kid. He is good.
Right. We want him to succeed.
Good. I just want people to give him some
breathing room,
some space in the first 10 to 15 games and some room to fail if he has some issues. And all of a sudden people are like, oh, they said this guy was going to be awesome. Now he sucks. And then everyone turns on him and he feels the pressure and
Kaiser bust. And like, I don't want that.
No. And so
just be realistic.
And who's loving this right now? Who should be loving all of this is Lucas Reichel right now. Who's talking about Lucas Reichel? Nobody. You got Bedard in town, and now they're all talking about Wyatt. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Take some of the shade off of Reichel here.
Honestly, that's a good thing for Reichel.
Yeah, maybe maybe
like he can fly under the radar as a second line center. There's very little pressure on him. So
and he's been moved from the wing to center, so there should be some pressure on him to succeed in that role.
Yeah, he's looked pretty good. I mean, we're going to find out if he's ready, and if he's not ready now, he might never be. I mean, I think we're
to play center or to play in the NHL.
Both.
I think he'll be fine in the NHL.
More center.
I think it's the center thing. Yeah.
I think it's more the center thing, but still, and I mean, the other thing too is, I mean, there's all this hype now around Wyatt Kaiser. The other guy who's getting a free pass on all this is Vlasic.
Yep.
Vlasic's going to be a top pair defenseman tomorrow night. And who has proven very little. And I guess you could say his college career didn't go as advertised. And he's going right in there with Jones in the top pairing but hey, Vlasic, no pressure on you, buddy. It's all on Kaiser now.
And here's the interesting question I have, who is yes, they're the top pairing on the depth chart. Are they the shutdown pair against the Crosby line?
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if we're ready to designate a shutdown pair right now.
You're right. I don't either. But then again, you have to figure out who's going to shut down the Malkin line too. So it's like having
play.
I mean, there's
Murphy together to consider that a shutdown. Like
I don't know. I mean, in these next two games, I mean, in their own zone, the Blackhawks are going to be running for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we should expect that. I mean, Pittsburgh still as formidable of a team as ever before. I think Boston has as good a chance as winning the Atlantic as anybody does. I mean, they lost some players, but if you look up and down the Atlantic, is Toronto the real deal? You never really know. And then other than that, I think Boston probably has the best team. I don't know if they come out of the East, but it's also both of these teams opening nights.
Mm.
I mean, they're going to be out to hammer the Hawks. So I don't know. It could be two lopsided games, but that's that. So I guess bottom line is we're all rooting for Wyatt Kaiser. We are, but this pedestal right now that after preseason hockey, that Ben Pope and others in the media are putting him on and feeding you that he's more than what he might be. And again, if we're wrong, happy to take it. Happy to take that if Wyatt Kaiser ends up being a top pairing defenseman in the NHL and is a total stud. I am happy with that outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving on. We talked about Korchinski briefly, but really no surprises that he's with the club. Any chance at all, Brent, that he stays after 9 games, or we just kind of wait and see? Or do you think this is just he'll have that cup of coffee and that's that?
I'd like to say there's a chance, but you have to wonder at a certain point if that's smart for his development,
right?
With how he's played in the preseason. Like, is it smart to just throw him to the Wolves all year? Or is it smart to send him back, get him in the AHL next year, let him develop, and not be another one, kind of like Kaiser, who has unfair expectations against him? Right. So it'd be great if he did play well enough to stay around, but I don't know that that's best for him at that point.
Yeah. Eric, at one point you mentioned the possibility of maybe they do burn his first year and maybe they just say, maybe we can do that. And then just maybe, we don't want him to be a Shane Wright, but at one point you mentioned, well, maybe they do give him 10 or 11 and then they just try to work with him throughout the year. Do you see that at all manifesting? I know that in one of our recent podcasts, you said that could happen.
Yeah, I think that could, just from a contractual strategy viewpoint, could happen. I forget when it was, but I know Kyle Davidson did say something about that, not specifically about Korchinski, but just that they do kind of have that mentality of trying to get guys to their second contract faster. So if they're not sold on Korchinski sticking with the Blackhawks for the entire season, which I think we're probably all in agreement, he's not ready for that yet. Mm-hmm. So if that is the case and they feel like he is not ready, then I definitely could see them, keeping him around for that 10th game to burn that year and then send him back. I don't necessarily know that I have a super strong feeling on that one way or the other. It's just something I could see them doing, but
they did it with Reichel too.
Yeah. So it's just something to kind of consider, but I think it's clear that Korchinski is at least ready for those 9 or 10 games. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Give him a shot, see what he can do. But, I think it's just pretty clear from what we've seen that the defensive game just isn't quite ready to handle an 82-game NHL schedule yet.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Shawnee, Bardo, you guys feeling similarly on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have other NHL prospects, defensemen, like that could be called up this year. And you don't want to take that time away from them by having Korchinski on the roster when he's not ready. Like Del Mastro, Nolan Allen, like those are guys that could come up and play significant minutes.
Isaac Phillips.
Yeah.
We're going to see Isaac Phillips again.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it is a numbers game because of all those younger guys that are, next in line. And I just think he needs to, hit the weight room. He needs to, keep developing. There's no rush because there's zero expectations for this team. Let this kid, marinate. I know he probably can just light it up in the WHL, but there are other things for him to work on and, weight room, like I just said. But I just think it doesn't make sense to just keep him up here. It really doesn't.
Yeah. I do think there is, I know we talked about he'll go back to his junior team and probably dominate, but I mean, I think there is something to say with age appropriate competition,
mm-hmm.
And I think, playing against guys his own age and doing very well against them versus getting pushed around a lot. Cause he's tall, but he's lanky. I mean, physically, and I also do think another reason why everyone, why Wyatt Kaiser comes out, I was like, wow, he looks better than a lot of these prospects. Yeah. He's 2-3 years older than a lot of them as well.
He's played against grown men in college.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, he's just the average, especially, being when he played at Minnesota Duluth, he was probably one of the younger guys on that team for his first 3 years there. I mean, those guys age out at 24, 25, a lot of them. So,
yeah.
So I agree. I mean, it's hard to envision a scenario. I mean, Korchinski is going to have to be so lights out in the first 9 games to stick around. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to have to be glaring. I mean, there's going to have to be points and in the plus in order to make that.
also, like, think about it from a developmental standpoint. So let's say this year is about Bedard, Reichel, our guy Kaiser, and then maybe somebody else, Gutman, and maybe other guys developing at the NHL level, right? Then you
Yep.
still have Frankie Nazar at Michigan. You still have Moore at Minnesota. Sam Reisel's at Minnesota. Like, you still have another wave of guys there to
Yeah.
come that maybe Korchinski is with that way or leading that wave of guys coming through. Like, so
Well, and that goes to the point, the strategy that they had about getting draft picks in different years versus just getting all of them in, 1 or 2 year bucket. It's because, and that's exactly the words that Kyle said, is that we want to have waves of prospects and guys that are ready. It's almost like you said, it's almost like Korchinski could lead the next wave that are coming in, whatever that is. So yeah, I think it makes all the sense in the world. It just fits the strategy.
Yep. All right. Well, good stuff. Well,
they have a plan. Holy cow! It's a miracle.
And it's not written on toilet paper or the United Center bathroom.
Yeah, or a bar napkin.
I thought you were going to say barred ass.
No, don't. We're done with that.
No, that was lard ass.
Stop. We're done with that. No.
He was reassigned quickly.
Yes, he was. Got a couple goals the other night though, after being reassigned. All right, predictions for the Hawks. Brent, where's this team finish? Let's go long-term predictions, and then we can go some player predictions. Surprise us. Let's go long-term prediction. Where do they finish? Are they a lottery team again? And then give me 3 players with a prediction for each one of them and how their season goes.
Well, I'm glad I get to go first as you're throwing this at me in live time.
I'll go for it. You want me to go?
You're the rookie.
No, that was mean. Right? Yeah, that was hazing.
That's fine. That's fine. I think they beat Arizona in the Central, but probably not by much.
Yep.
I mean, and also I'm kind of at the point where, like, hopefully not by much. I'd love to see them get another really good draft pick. Like, to me, every year, if you're clearly not going to make the playoffs, why wouldn't you want a top 3 draft pick? Like, why get 8 to 12? Like, I'm not saying they're tanking again.
Because anything can happen, Brent.
Yeah. Hey, if we win the lottery again, I think the NHL might get burned to the ground.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even if we went 0-82, there's no chance we win the lottery. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah. Any players you're pulling for? Player surprises, saying, hey, watch out, this could happen for this guy this year?
I don't want to underplay Bedard, but I almost kind of have the same feeling as Kaiser. Like, obviously he should have the hype around him. I get that. First overall, like, he should be very, very good. Yeah. But there's, like, way too many people out there throwing around like, oh, he could hit 90, he could hit 100. Who is he playing with?
He's going to have a lot of challenges this year. I mean,
and it's not lack of talent on his part. Yeah. If you put him on a good team, he's probably hitting 90 to 100 points. Yeah. But who on this team is getting him to that point?
No. He has no help.
Honestly, it's not going to shock me if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year.
No.
Because what help does he have?
No, I mean, Logan Cooley could be up there for Rookie of the Year. I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys. I don't think it's worth putting, kind of like we had the whole discussion with Kaiser, putting all this on him because he has no help. And that's not a knock on the rest of the guys on the team. But he doesn't have the help to get himself 90 to 100 points. Yep.
He's not going to go out there and do it on his own.
It's a good, that's scary. I mean, none of us want that, obviously. I mean, I think, number one, I agree with Gate that we're all good looking except Sean. Other than that, I think that, and yes, we all miss Nelson and his rooting for Team Bardo. But other than that, I mean, I would love to see Bedard with 70 points. I mean, it's kind of like the bet out there, DraftKings, that kind of stuff is the over under 70 points. But he could have 50. I mean, it could, we'll see how he adjusts. But then again, I don't know. And I know it's preseason and, everyone was like, he was kind of ho-hum and got that empty net goal. And his first preseason goal was empty netter. But then you look back at the sheet and it's like, all right, they won 4-2. He did have 3 points. Is he just going to be that guy where there's a goal scored and you're like, oh, but it wasn't dazzling, but he got the second assist. And all of a sudden they accumulate and they accumulate.
Points a point.
Points a point. Bardo, do you have any predictions for the Blackhawks this year? Any players where you're like, this could be a breakout season, this could go well for them, or any players where you're like, this is going to be a catastrophic train wreck of sorts?
That's a good question. I'll tell you what I actually am bullish on. It's not an individual player, but I actually do think the first power play unit, assuming Hall stays healthy, but that front of Bedard, Hall, and Perry is actually really good. I think it's interesting because parking Perry and Hall in front of the net is actually interesting. And you could still see still has some skill. He's not as an explosive skater, if you will. Not like he was ever a burner, but he doesn't skate as quickly as he once did. Mm-hmm. But he still has hands. He's still crafty and smart. So I think that power play unit can actually come together and be pretty good. I think what Bedard's going to do is create a lot of space for people. He's going to draw a lot of people. You saw it in the preseason. So I think that's going to help others. And I think that will keep his point total. I think 65, 70 points is probably a realistic number for him. Yeah. As far as defensemen go, I mean, I think if that's the case, I think someone like Seth Jones could benefit because of, the power play, et cetera. Mm-hmm. I also think that Foligno, from a leadership standpoint, is going to really help. I mean, I think Luke Richardson did a lot for this culture. I think Foligno takes it to another level.
Yeah, I agree.
What I've seen and what I've read and what I've heard about him, I mean, he is such a leader that I'm looking forward to seeing how he helps, shape a lot of the young kids.
I like it. That's a good take. What about you, Shawnee?
So I'm going to.
Where do they finish?
They're going to finish just above Arizona. My predictions I think Taylor Radish scores 25 goals.
Woo!
Mm-hmm. He scored 20 last year. I think he breaks out a little bit and scores 25. Maybe scores himself a nice payday. I'm going to say Soderblom is primary goalie and actually looking like a regular NHL goalie. Maybe not like a superstar, but like a 1A or 1B in the NHL.
Yeah,
I think that's something that I'd like to see and I hope to see. And then I'm gonna say I think we get a look at Marcel this year in the NHL. I think he's gonna come up and he's huge. He's 6'4". I think he's gonna come up. He's gonna be called up at some point. We're just gonna see him run into some people, and I think that'll be fun.
Yep. Okay. I like that. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we've all kind of said, 7th or 8th in the division. I'll opt for 8th. Just be optimistic in that sense, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I think those two are clearly the two worst teams in the division. I don't think there's much debate about that. Yeah, I mean, as far as Bedard, I think, again, like we've said earlier in the night, we got to be realistic with the expectations here. You've seen flashes throughout the preseason of his talent, of his skill, and showing that it can translate to the NHL right away. But at the same time, there have also been cases where you can tell that it is going to be a little bit slower of a transition, and he's not immediately going to be that elite level superstar right out of the gate. I know I think it was the first preseason game against Detroit, the first of the two where they played the Wings, they were really pressuring him on the power play. And you could tell that he was kind of thrown off by that. He's used to having a lot of time and space on the power play. And when they were just right on him, immediately when he got the puck, you could tell that kind of was rattling him a little bit and kind of just getting him off his game a little bit. So, I mean, I'm sure that will be a tactic that the majority of teams will use. And you could see even throughout the preseason, he was getting more comfortable with that too, which is great. And when there was that pressure, he was making decisions with the puck faster. So that's encouraging for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think to me, I'm thinking, 65, 70 points for him is probably the realistic number. Obviously hope for more, but yeah. And I do think he'll win the Calder, even though Logan Cooley is the best prospect in the world, according to the smartest people in the NHL. So Of
Right.
course, that being the social media admins of the Coyotes. But anyway.
Well, wow, what a credible franchise. They're doing great.
Yeah. So that's what I say for Bedard.
That's going so well. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of Bedard, let's see. I think Taylor Hall, if he can stay healthy, will have a really, really strong season next to Bedard. I could easily see, somewhere in the 60 to 70 point range for Hall as well. And that would be great. Defensively, obviously, if we're going to have a kind of a guy that drops the ball this season, look for that to be Nikita Zaitsev, just because that guy is not good as an NHL defenseman.
Like one good year of hockey ever.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I'll make a goalie prediction. Is this likely to happen? Probably not, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Peter Mrazek plays at least 35 games this year.
Wow.
We'll see.
Whoa.
Hopefully that is the case, because obviously the guy gets hurt all the time. So if he can have a somewhat healthy season, that would be great. But
will he fall through the ice at any point in time?
He might. We'll just have to see.
Hey, he played 39 last year. Just saying.
That's
all right.
true.
Well, I'll bump it up to 40. How about that?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I
need to throw this out here. Why has Arizona been a trendy playoff pick?
Yeah.
Am I missing something here?
I don't know. I'm
because
going to
Logan Cooley is the best prospect in the
Oh
world.
my God! You go to NHL.com, they have him in the wild card. I'm like, what am I missing here?
Because the franchise that drafted Dylan Strome 3rd overall clearly knows what they're doing.
I mean, I don't know. The NHL guys are probably who knows?
They
Bettman
feel
probably
bad?
told them to do that to try to save hockey in Arizona.
Oh God!
I'm going with Brent. I think the Hawks will finish ahead of Arizona, and that'll be the only team they finish ahead of. I think they'll be in the conversation for a lottery pick. We'd be blessed if they got a top 5 pick, but could very well be in the 5 to 10 range. I'm going to go Bedard. I am going to go Bedard with 70, and here's why. I think my bold prediction, and maybe it's not that bold, I think we are going to see at some point this season Reichel and Bedard playing together, where they move one of the two, most likely Reichel, over to the wing. And if they are both playing together with Taylor Hall, you're going to see a lot of points and you're going to see a lot of hockey. And I think they're going to get to that point if Bedard is not coming out of the gate fast enough, where t-shirts aren't flying off the shelf as much as they should be. So with that, if those two guys are playing together, you're going to see Reichel with 50, 60 points and Bedard up there too. And I don't know. As a fan, I'd love to see that. I know we're trying to figure out the great experiment is whether or not Reichel is the second line center of the future. If they figure out that's not the best place for him right now, put him with Bedard. Just do it. And just say, let's make this a combo for as long as we can. I don't know. But then you get into the whole, is this another McDavid Draisaitl thing where you got, two guys that are awesome and then you can't backfill the rest of the team? I don't know. Who knows? But I do think we'll see those guys together.
I wonder if we see them together almost like, after a penalty kill when they put like Kane and Taves together with Sharp and just threw them out there with whoever. I think I could see something like that.
Yeah, like the break glass and tie it. Like when you break the glass in case of an emergency, I think that could be it. Like whenever the Hawks were struggling, they would go to Kane and Taves together to try to get something going. Maybe
or if you're getting knocked around and there's 15 minutes to go in the third period and you're down 6-2, try it.
Why not? Let it fly.
See what happens, and maybe because there are going to be games where they're down 6-2 early in the third period. I mean, this team's not great, folks. I know we're all excited right now, and we could be all very sad in 10 days. Just going, we'll follow Bedard. Maybe he'll get a goal here or there, but
we're gonna at least have more. And I know we're gonna be sad overall, but we're at least gonna have more like linings of hope than we've had in years past. Like, what were we working with last year? Like, Reichel came up at the end, and that was it. Buddy Brotherton scored some goals.
Buddy Brotherton.
I mean,
No, there's actually talent on this team that could be part of the future. That this year is all about talent development. That's all there is to it. You want to see any and all young players develop into something. You're going to have surprise. You're going to have surprises. You're going to have guys that you didn't expect. That are going to develop, and then vice versa. It always happens.
that, like you said, Bart, they're going to be in more games than we think because Luke Richardson coached up a team of nobodies last year to play.
I really hope Luke Richardson gets a shot when this team's good. I like Luke Richardson. He's done a great job.
Too. I mean, I think that was at the end of last season where I said the thing that really stood out for me was the head coach and the fact that he had this. I don't remember any game last year where they just showed up and just laid their sticks on the ice and just said, you know what, we're going to mail it in. They never did. They played 60 minutes every single night, and they had no talent, and they were in probably more games than they probably should have been. I mean, they were playing hard up until the last, day of the season, as we all saw. So, I mean, I think this year with, more talent, yeah, they're going to be in a lot of games, and they may steal a couple of games. So,
yeah, no, I agree. It should be. I don't know. It'll be fun. There'll be a fun follow. They'll be on national television a lot. Yeah, well, we'll see. We're going to find out. So. We've got a few minutes left here. We want to keep it to an hour or less. I do want to throw this out there. Cup predictions. Give me a team from the East, a team from the West. Who's winning it this year? We will not go with Brent first. Let him marinate a little bit. I could go first, or if anyone's dying to go. Has anyone thought this through? Fine.
I don't usually think anything through.
I like that. All right, I'll go, and then we're going to go Sean. We're going to go Sean second to give him a few minutes to think. I am going to go an epic 7-game battle in the Eastern Conference Final between New Jersey and Carolina, where Carolina comes out on top. I think Carolina is going to go on to the Stanley Cup Finals, where they are going to meet the Dallas Stars, and Carolina is going to win the Stanley Cup in 6. That's what I'm saying. Sean.
I am saying the New Jersey Devils, who I've been high on for the last couple of years, defeat the upstart, maybe not so upstart anymore, Seattle Kraken in a Stanley Cup final.
What?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying. The New Jersey Devils over the Seattle Kraken. Kraken went to they played well last year in the playoffs.
Okay.
If they can figure out what to do with Shane Wright, I think they'll be pretty good.
Okay.
You're logging these for the records?
Yeah.
When the end of the year comes and Seattle doesn't even make the playoffs, you're just going to hold it up and just go, yeah, that's right, Sean.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I was replying to a text. No,
I mean, if you want to log it, that's fine.
Well, no, I'm making mental. Well, now that okay, fine. You keep badgering me about it. Yeah, I'll be sure to give you hell when the Seattle Kraken.
And I'll just go, Alex
not make
Regula.
the Stanley Cup
We'll
Finals. If that's what you want, I'll do it.
I'll
I will make mental notes.
We'll be fine.
Remember that Seattle team that didn't make the playoffs? I had them winning it all, or winning the West. Anyway, Bardo.
This is tough. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a little bit different. I don't like going chalk. I am going to go swing for the fences and go with the Florida Panthers to represent the East.
Ooh.
Defeating the Carolina Hurricanes. Is that possible? Can they do that? No, they can't because they're in the same division.
Wild card. They could.
Wild card, yeah.
Okay, so let's keep that. And then in the West, I am going to go with this is tough. I don't like doing this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to say Edmonton.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Edmonton over Dallas in the conference finals.
Okay.
And I'm going to take Florida to win it all.
Okay.
Over
Florida, New Jersey, Carolina. Even though the West has been winning cups, Eric, where are you with this whole setup?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like what Bart just said. I don't want to just say what everyone else is saying, but I mean, I am a Carolina Hurricanes fan, given that Jacob Slavin plays for them. So I do
Slavin reference.
Of course, you got to drop the name every now and then. But no, I mean they're obviously a very strong team again this year. So they're my pick out of the East. As far as who they would play in the conference finals, I want to say Toronto, but I mean, we know that's not going to happen. So I don't know if I'll make another Eastern Conference Finals pick. But for the West, to me, I do feel like it's either going to be Dallas or Edmonton. I feel like Dallas is probably more equipped to play playoff hockey than Edmonton is. But at the same time, I mean, Edmonton, you would have to think or hope will eventually figure it out. So I'll go Carolina over Edmonton in the Cup in 6 games.
I like it. Carolina. And I am really hoping somehow they find a way to make room for Patrick Kane and he's part of that run. That would be fun. Though Shawnee's bold and maybe not so bold prediction anymore of Kane being in Buffalo sounds like it might be a real thing. He said it first. He also said Seattle, Stanley Cup Finals.
Yep, that's right. And I never
That's not happening.
Yeah. All right, Brent.
I'm just going to go and say I'm just going to pick teams that have not been picked. I'll beat the sucker. Toronto finally makes the final.
All right.
Yeah.
It's Arizona.
No, against the Blackhawks. We're a Blackhawks podcast, aren't we?
I don't know. Bertuzzi, Reeves, they're a different looking team. They've got some sandpaper now.
That's what they said last year.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to help out the new guy here.
Dubas isn't there anymore, so they're getting rid of Dubas. That's the curse of Dubas. He's not going to redo their entire blue line at the trade deadline. They'll do that in Pittsburgh.
Hey, Dave Ellett ain't walking through that door, man.
Dave Ellett. Oh my God.
So I guess I'll
get Toronto.
I'll take them in Colorado.
Yeah.
I'll pick 2 teams that haven't been picked yet. Realistically, I'm not going with that, but for the sake of throwing different teams out there.
I don't know. Until we get a healthy Landeskog, I wanted to say Colorado too, but you were really finding out what Landeskog has meant to this team. And it's very unfortunate, this injury that has really seemingly derailed his career.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know we don't know if or when he's ever going to come back. And he's a hell of a hockey player and a hell of a leader.
By the way, my it's not really that bold of a prediction, but my biggest dud team that's going to drop like a stone in the ocean.
New York Rangers.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's happening. It's slowly happening.
And don't the Hawks have their first round draft pick this year? I'm telling you.
I think is it top 10 protected?
It is.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll take 11.
For sure. I was just making sure.
So we don't want them.
Somebody told me that this weekend, and I didn't.
No, I think they're going to miss the playoffs, but they're not going to be a lottery team. I think they're going to be completely like mediocre.
Yeah, which is good.
They'll be in the top at the end of the year.
Yeah, take that.
And then they're going to let what's his name walk? Why can't I think of his name?
Stamkos.
Stamkos. Going to let Stamkos walk because it can't pay everybody.
Right.
And their window is going to close.
I know I didn't pick them, to even be in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I do think I do think Boston is going to be tougher than people realize, despite what they've lost.
Because they're well coached.
They're well coached, and they still have that element. They're just always there. They're always in the conversation. They're always around.
Well, and they have Ian Mitchell.
And they do have Ian Mitchell now.
And they brought back Milan Lucic.
Yeah, that's hysterical. You should hear Boston fans. Oh, Lucic is back, man.
And don't they have Alec Regula, who's going to be Regula on the blue line?
Waived.
In Providence. Yeah, he's in Providence, and maybe will be soon to be picked up by the Stanley Cup finalist Seattle Kraken. If we're lucky. So, all right. Well, good stuff tonight, guys. I want to give a quick birthday shout out. /story and thank you to our content editor. Well, first of all, does anyone else have any shout outs? Anything else they want to add to the podcast? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to everyone who completed the Chicago Marathon yesterday.
Yeah. Nice.
That's an account. My uncle has completed his 26th in a row.
Wow. So
he's a crazy person. So shout out to him. And the world record also went down. So that was really, really cool.
That's
and
really cool.
We hope to see somebody run a marathon in under 2 hours, which would be a feat for sure.
I completed the NFL marathon, watched football from 9 a.m. till the end of the 49er Dallas game. So I'm very proud of myself.
Also a hell of an achievement, Bardo.
Yes.
I ran 2 blocks and my hip and back hurt now.
I drove like 20 miles, but that's
So anyway, our our director of content editor, what have you, whatever your main title is, Mr. Andrews, Eric Andrews, happy birthday to you. How old are you?
28.
28. That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
I know that's probably against Rink HR protocol for me to ask you your true age, but thank you for indulging anyway. 28 years young. Quick story about Eric. I'm a hockey historian. I'm obsessed with a certain story. There is an epic song by the band The Tragically Hip called 50 Mission Cap.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of you might know that song, honoring a certain lost hockey player that in 1951 scored the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup Finals in overtime for the Toronto Maple Leafs to beat the Montreal Canadiens. He then went on a fishing trip that summer with a buddy of his, and his plane vanished, was not discovered. The plane and his remains were not discovered until 1962, 11 years later, during which time in a 6-team league, the Toronto Maple Leafs went on an 11-year cup drought, and weeks after they won the cup for the first time in 11 years, that's when his remains were found. Gord Downie, the lead singer of the Tragically Hip, in his final concert with the Tragically Hip in 2016 in Toronto, had every single Maple Leaf banner removed except for the number 5 of this player, and they dimmed all the lights, and they played 50 Mission Cap for the last time. Gord Downie was dying of cancer. He passed away shortly after that. It was their last trip, but a very, very moving tribute. Awesome song, awesome moment. The hockey player's name is Bill Barilko, and Eric saved this for me, and I still had to buy it from him, which makes sense. But this is a game-used stick from Bill Barilko, not necessarily the stick he won the OT winner with. Well, who knows? Maybe. But game-used stick. What a fascinating story. Eric, thank you. If any of you are in the rare card industry, Eric's got it all. He got me this Vladislav Tretiak paddle. It was cool, as well as a Pelle Lindbergh paddle a couple years ago, and a Jean Bellevue paddle. I'm going to put these up on the mantle. So Eric's got some great stuff. Big birthday shout out to Eric for giving me selling me this very memorable piece on Bill Barilko, and what a great hockey story that is. And that's what I've got to close the show. Sorry, a bit of Eric tonight.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so good luck to Wyatt Kaiser. Hope you live up to expectations. Good luck to the Chicago Blackhawks. We're all excited tomorrow night. Connor Bedard is going to be mic'd up. That's going to be awesome. Brent, how you feeling? You excited? Obviously. Eric, excited?
I am. I'm curious to see if they will have some sort of mic'd up coverage of that opening face-off, and if there are any words shared between him and Sidney Crosby.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That I'm excited about. Bardo, I hope you're excited.
As always.
Good, man. And Shawnee, great to see you again. Haircut looks great, despite what the gatekeeper thinks. And hey, here we go. Go Hawks. This will be fun, folks. We'll be back next week to talk about what we see in the early part of the season. Until then, have a great night.